I think that the defense attorneys out there and, big insurance companies or even big companies like Starbucks, they want to promote this story in the media and not tell you the real story and just say $50 million for a burn. That's crazy. We need tort reform. We need to change the laws. California juries are too wild. They're awarding way too much money. They're doing that because they're taking advantage of the fact that nobody knows the true story. Nobody was really there other than the jurors and whoever happened to be in court. No one was inside that room. No one heard from this poor guy and saw what he went through. But when you know the real story and what really happened, was $50 million too much? Absolutely not.
I see. So what would you say that we can expect? Because Starbucks is gonna, at least they announced that they're gonna submit an appeal to that case. So what would you say that what we can expect?
So Starbucks said, right after the verdict, Starbucks, one of their spokespersons said that they're going to appeal. They still haven't. I'd be surprised if they appeal. I was talking to Michael about it, and several years ago, Michael made what's called a 998 offer. And it's very technical, and I don't want to get too legal here, but in California, there's a specific procedure in litigation called a CCP 998 offer, 998. And a plaintiff, so the person suing, here the Starbucks victim, you make a demand to the other side, so to Starbucks. And if, say it's $10 million, I'm offering, you Starbucks pay me $10 million. And if Starbucks rejects the demand within 30 days or after 30 days, at trial, if the plaintiff gets more money than the 998 demand, which they did, then Starbucks has to pay all of their court costs, all of their expert witness fees, and in some cases, even attorney's fees, although I don't think here. So not only that, every year that's passed since the rejection, 10% interest gets added on top of whatever the award's going to be. So they rejected a 998 offer. 10% of whatever they got is going to be accruing every year. So now they've got a $50 million award, which is going to be 10% with interest. So call it, roughly $60 million when you factor in all the court fees and expert fees and all the years that the interest has accrued. For Starbucks to appeal that, all they're going to be doing is incurring more money while the case sits there on appeal, because it takes years. And, in California, it can take 2 to 3 years for a case to get to the Court of Appeal. So I suspect Starbucks will probably try to settle. And they'll, I used to represent really big companies. If I'm Starbucks, I would probably reach out to Parker and his client and say, look, jury awarded 50 million, it's going to be 60. We'll settle right now for 40 million. And 40 million, it avoids the risk, it avoids the uncertainty. In theory, anything can happen on appeal. So if I had to guess, Starbucks will probably make some settlement proposal like that, but who knows?
So they can make settlement proposal even after the jury verdict.
Of course, you can make I've had cases where my clients have won or lost at trial. Not many that have lost, but getting a jury verdict is just a piece of paper, right? It's just a number that says plaintiff gets 50 million. You still have to collect on that. And the process for collecting and going and executing on a judgment can take a long time. So sometimes it's in the best interests of your client to just, settle and avoid all that, avoid the appellate process, which can take 2 to 3 years, avoid judgment collection, just get whatever amount of money you can right now.
So it's gonna expedite the process if they take like an alternative offer after the trial.
Right.
So pretty much like the jury verdict for like 50 million, and then you just said with all the interest and fees it's gonna reach to like 60 million. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, it's just every year, because Starbucks rejected an opportunity to settle, there's interest that gets added on to the judgment, and then Starbucks is also going to be liable for all of Parker's, the plaintiff, all of the plaintiff's expert witness fees at trial, paying for doctors, and they had a what's called an accident reconstructionist. So they had a team that actually came into trial and showed the jury what happened with a visual, placed the coffee in the holder like that and demonstrated what happened at the drive-thru when the barista gave the tray to the guy who was in the car. So all that's very expensive, and because Starbucks lost, and because they the jury awarded more money than Starbucks was willing to pay with the 998 offer. Starbucks now is liable for all those fees.